Good morning everyone. Okay, so we are back at it with another travel update. Now, this time I want to focus on hostels. My god, it's boiling today. Now, as we know, every country is at a very different stage, but I do know that some hostels are looking to reopen their doors to the general public again in July in the UK. So I found a few large hostel chains in the UK and Europe that have put forward a statement or done interviews about how they are going to reopen and the kind of safety measures they are going to be putting in place. Ignore the crap behind me. Not a great amount of information just yet, but I will be keeping everyone updated within this series as time goes by. But this is what some of the big chains have said and some of the things you might expect if you're planning on staying in a hostel. So YHA, I think the longest standing hostel chain, everyone knows them. Probably every frequent traveller has stayed in them at some point, have made a very large statement online and there's a lot of information. I'll be linking down any article or website I can that I've used as sources down below if you want to read a little bit more. IHA are planning a phased reopen from the 17th of July in the UK. I said that they'll be cleaning a lot more regularly and have a lot of contactless like check-in and things like that, and promoting social distancing within the hostels. Now, they are putting in quite a nice little guarantee for you if you do decide to book with them. They say if you are unable to proceed with your booking due to UK government restrictions which prevent you from travelling to one of our hostels in England or Wales, such as travel bans or enforced self-isolation, or your accommodation is unavailable for any reason, you'll be able to choose from one of the following options: transfer booking to a later date, to an alternative hostel, or you get a full refund. I was really happy to see that, and I'm really glad they are going ahead. Just give a traveller a bit of peace of mind, because I think people are just worried about booking at the moment. They also stated once you've checked into your room, no one will enter that room, so your room will not be cleaned during your stay. The only time they said that someone will come in is for essential maintenance that is obviously absolutely necessary, and I'm sure you would be informed as to leave the room while they came in. Other than that, as soon as you check in, that's your room, no one's going to come in and clean it, and it's all yours. As I said, keeping communal spaces such as self-catering kitchens, dining areas, laundry facilities, locker rooms, drying rooms and lounges closed for the time being. Also removing non-essential and difficult to clean items from room and public areas, including seating and most storage lockers in bedrooms. Self-catering kitchens will be closed, any shared cooking areas, so that is definitely going to be a hit on budget travellers moving forward staying in a YHA property. But of course, at the time, it makes complete sense, so that will probably either mean eating out or getting something that you don't need to cook for your dinner or lunch. Also, a lot of them have mentioned about social communal areas. Now, I did get some stories from you lot over on Instagram. Thank you so much. I couldn't get through all of them. I'm sure I've missed a couple, but I'll read them out at the end, of people who have stayed in a hostel during the lockdown and when lockdown just began. A lot of them from New Zealand. I think we've got a couple from Australia. They shared their stories. I'll be reading them at the end. But here, like I said, every country is different, every hostel is going to be different, reopening, already open, what's going on, of course, very different all over the world. For those that are going to start reopening with no communal areas, it's going to be, I just think, a completely different vibe in a hostel, because the hostel experience is all about, you know, everyone cooking together, then everyone sitting together, meeting each other, mingling, and that's just going to be struck off the cards for the time being by the looks of it. HA will also be offering food and drink takeaway service instead of the shared dining and bar facilities. That's if they have, you know, already like a cafe or restaurant on site, it'll be takeaway only. Also, this is another big one. Hostels opening for recreational bookings are operating with private rooms only, either en suite or with the sole use of an allocated toilet or shower. Dorm rooms will remain unavailable for booking at this time. So that's something I've seen pop up, and it's something that really made me think of why I wanted to do this video. Dorm rooms, are you going to shove 8 strangers in together? By the looks of it, it'll be private rooms only with an ensuite. If you are staying in a room that does not have an ensuite, you'll be allocated a shower and toilet, which will be yours to use throughout the day. I think with dorm rooms, I'm pretty sure that if you are going, say, a family, group of 3, 4, then you can go into a dorm room, but they have to be private within your group or on your own. My goodness. They also put, I found this under their FAQ, on checkout, you will need to strip your bedding and leave it in the designated area for laundry. This has reduced the risk to our housekeeping staff. It's not that unusual. There are hostels out there that ask you to bring your sheets down, strip your bed, throw them in the laundry basket. And you need to let them know when you've checked out by text or email, and you also need to leave the windows in that room open for ventilation before you leave. We also got another statement from A&O Hostels, which have locations in Berlin, Venice, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Budapest. They said the rooms will operate at half capacity or at a maximum of 4 people within the first few months of their reopening. When they say four people, I'm guessing that they mean strangers. They didn't say from the same group. I'm guessing an 8-bed dorm, they might allow 4 people in. Now, they did discuss dining areas and they look like they'll still be open. Allocated breakfast times are planned to limit the number of guests sharing the dining space at one time within a distance of 1.5 meters between chairs in dining areas. So as we can see, it's gonna differ. Every hostel, whether independent or a chain, are gonna have different procedures in place for what they feel is best with wherever they are in the world and moving forward. Now, Safe Stay, what a name for branding to have at this time. They're a huge hostel chain. They came out and said check-in will be completed via WhatsApp. Hand sanitizer gel, masks and gloves will be made available. Common rooms, including the restaurant areas, will be closed and breakfast will be instead served in boxes. So again, Safe Stay have said that common areas and restaurants will be closed and not available. Also, again, we're seeing a really common thread here. No shared rooms will be sold, and instead rooms will be sold to individuals or groups who are known to each other. Again, we're seeing that pop up a lot. Which makes me then wonder, is this going to affect, you know, a big reason other than the socializing and all of that stuff, people stay in hostels because it's cheaper. You know, if you want to stay in a dorm room, it's so much cheaper than in a private room or a hotel or even an Airbnb and pick up cheap dorm beds. Now, if they are selling them privately, I know from first-hand experience all over the world that normally a private room in a hostel is more expensive than a private room in a hotel. It's just ludicrous prices, but then you do get the benefits of all the facilities in the hostel and it's way more social. Well, back in there it used to be. Remember when it was real social in hostels? So are we going to see a massive price hike now because all the rooms are private, and will this discourage budget travellers for the time being while they're not allowing people to stay in the same dorm? This was something interesting I saw from Safe Stay. They said bosses also said the destruction of the hospitality sector from the lockdown could prove beneficial to Safe Stay, with opportunities to buy distressed independent hostels that could go bust. See, that's something really interesting to think about. Because I was thinking you've got your big hostel chains which will probably survive this fine and will pull through the other end, and, you know, they'll take a big hit but they'll recover eventually. But you've got so many little independent hostels, just one somewhere really beautiful, not that big. You go, you have the best day, it's very welcoming, very family-like. Are they gonna go bust now? And when massive chains, hostel chains, see that, as I said, they're distressed independent businesses, will they barge in and go, we'll buy from you, add it to our chain? So again, it's going to be the big ones getting bigger, the small ones going bust, which would be so horrible to see, but it's something I think we've all had a lot of discussions about. Your little mom and pops and your little independent coffee shops and little independent boutique hotels going completely bust because they don't have the capital, the support, the resources, the shareholders, any access to that kind of funding. And they'll just be gobbled up in, you know, from the big boys. So I did get some, where's my phone? Hello! I did get some stories through on Instagram. Let me go find my phone. So I'm just gonna read out some of the stories that you sent me of people who were staying in hostels during the beginning of lockdown or after, just so I could share some of the experience of what it was like. I was on a working holiday in New Zealand and I stayed in a hostel in Auckland after I had finished traveling and I was starting to looking for jobs. Luckily, I got a flight home to Dublin, so I didn't stay too long, but they asked for proof of when we came into the country to make sure we didn't need to self-isolate. Later on in the stay, they stopped accepting new bookings and the hostel started to empty out. The owner said that the hostel would stay open for anyone who was currently staying through the pandemic. This one's from Daniela. She's on Instagram, My Vegan Travel. She's really funny. I really love her. So go and check her out on Instagram if you want. She shared her story and I've been following her anyway. Said, right, when the lockdown started here in Bulgaria, I was the last guest and I was on my own at the hostel. The day after I arrived, Bulgaria banned tourist stays, so hostels closed down for bookings. I was only allowed to stay because I arrived before the restrictions. I said, how long did you have to stay there didn't you get that Airbnb after? She's like, yes, I had to stay for 5 days, but it was so weird. Not even staff was there. I was completely on my own. That's not uncommon. A few other people I'm sure have mentioned that even staff weren't coming into the hostels when lockdown was announced, but anyone who was there beforehand were allowed to stay just on your own in the hostel. I thought I'd give you my experience as it's a bit unique. We were staying in Noah's Hostel in Bondi Beach, Sydney at the start. At the start, the hostel tried to implicate social distancing rules, but they were almost impossible given that it's a hostel. Soon later, when the virus got bad in Sydney and mainly Bondi, the media needed someone to pick on, so they chose us. There was many false articles written about all of the supposed cases in our hostel, even though we were the only hostel in Bondi without a case, and we all got tested. It ended up being a flurry of reporters being outside the hostel and even going as far as flying drones over the hostel and taking pictures from neighbouring buildings, and a complete breach of privacy. One day the hostel decided that it was closing and gave us 3 hours notice to pack our things and get out. No refunds, and we were told that we couldn't go to any other hostel. The government ended up stepping in and trying to find a place for us all. After a number of ideas, they decided to put us all up in a hotel for free for 2 nights with the chance of it being extended. Ended up getting a week there, but every 3rd morning we'd have to wake up, go downstairs and see whether we could extend for free or get put on the streets. I ended up getting an apartment soon after this and it worked out, but a lot of people ended up panicking and booking flights home. The hostel decided to close on such short notice, ruined so many people's trips to Australia and wasted a lot of people's working holiday visas. I did not even think about that. You imagine going out, you've just got your working holiday visa, you know, your once in a lifetime working holiday visa, and you have to book a flight home and it's gone, it's wasted, you can never get that again. Man, oh, I'd be heartbroken. I didn't even think about working holiday visas. Thought this might be interesting because it's the only time I've heard of it happening, but for now, those of us who stuck it out have been doing good and are using this as a chance to get our farm work done so we can get our 2nd year visa to finally explore this country properly. Oh, well, I'm really glad for those who worked out for. I do not blame anyone at all who just probably got freaked out, scared and just booked a flight home, but then their visa, that's it, it's done. Imagine being right at the start as well, not seeing any of the country, spending all that money going, and even if you could claim something back and gain the flight home, it's that once in a lifetime visa I think that would sting me the most. Not so much, yeah, the flight to Australia and back is horrific, but it's more like, you know, that's your opportunity gone for that year working there. It's like if someone steals your camera. Alright, you're pissed because they stole your camera, but they could have left the memory card. You're more annoyed that you had so many photos, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, it's annoying I lost the money on the camera, but I've lost all the photos and that upsets me even more. God, that sucks. And yeah, someone else said, I've been locked down in a hostel in New Zealand since it all started, still trying to get back to the UK. I asked them to let me know what else. They said, basically, they social distanced us as much as possible. We were still sharing dorms, but they stopped taking bookings, so there were less people around. It didn't really work, as I'm sure you can imagine. The staff stopped coming to work, so it pretty much became a free-for-all. It was pretty weird, but we all became super close, and we all look out for each other. So, yeah, let's end on that note. You've made some definite friends for life if you had to be stuck in a hostel during lockdown abroad, no staff there, just fending for yourselves. So yes, but that is all we have at the moment on hostels. If you have a story, have you stayed in a hostel during lockdown? Did you get kicked out? Were you there at the beginning? Did you fly home? What did you do? I would love to hear your stories down below, and just, yeah, let's all have a chat. Hope you enjoyed this update. We'll be doing plenty more. If there's any area you'd like me to look into as things progress within the travel sphere, then please let me know. More than happy, love reading about it. And I can do a number 4 video in this series. Anyway, I'm gonna go and enjoy the sun a little bit, so I will see you all later. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, well, Twitter and Instagram, let's be real. And yeah, loving, leaving, shutting up, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow? No, I'm not gonna see you tomorrow. I will not, let's be real. I'm not double daying. I'll see you when I see you. All right.